Welcome to session 5 of my creation course. The last time we looked at what was created on day 2 and day 3. Day 2, the waters were separated. Some stayed on below and some went above, maybe even into outer space. On day 3, God separated the water from dry land. And then he filled the land and the water with all the plant families. So he was very busy then. So the earth now is one large continent and surrounded by an ocean. The ocean's probably shallow and the continent itself is probably relatively flat, not like we have it now. So while God was busy filling just planet Earth on day 3, on day 4, he was really busy and filled the entire universe. So on day 4 now, God started first by giving a greater light and a lesser light to planet Earth. And let me read that for you from Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 and to 16. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night. Let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. Let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made the 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, the 4th day. So now, since the sun exists, years can now be measured, for it takes 1 entire year for the earth to go around the sun once. Also, at that time, the earth has a tilt of 23.5 degrees. This tilt enables planet Earth to have its seasons. And here's a season. Here is an image of how seasons work. After the sun and the moon were formed, God created the rest of the planets as well. And they look like stars to us without any telescopes or anything like that. So in order from the sun and size related to the earth, we start with Mercury. Mercury is the smallest. It's just a bit larger than our moon. It goes quite fast around the sun. It takes only 88 days for 1 year there. However, 1 day for them is 179 hour days, so it rotates very slowly. It has no moons, and it actually looks like our moon. Venus is about the size of the Earth. 1 year is 225 days, so a bit quicker than ours. 1 day, again, it's slow. It's 117 hour days for 1 day on Venus. Now, Venus used to be thought of as a compatible planet to Earth. However, since then, we've found out that the surface temperature is 471 degrees Celsius. So no thanks. I like my heat less than 30 degrees Celsius, so not for me. Then, of course, there's planet Earth, and won't be talking much about that right now. Mars is about half the Earth's size. 1 year on Mars is 687 days, so almost double our time. And the day is only 41 minutes longer than here on Earth. It has 2 moons. It has the largest volcano in the solar system, being 15 miles high. Now, if we take to the top of Mount Everest and to the bottom of the deepest trench, Marianas Trench, we get a total of 11 or 12 miles. So it's even taller than that. It's got the largest canyon in the universe, or in the solar system at least. It's 3,000 kilometers long and 600 kilometers wide. Jupiter is the largest planet, and it is our protector. In 1994, the comet Shoemaker-Levy slammed into Jupiter because the gravitational force of Jupiter just sucked it in so it wouldn't hit planet Earth at all. But there's a great video of the comet hitting Jupiter. It broke apart before it fell in, so there's, it keeps hitting piece by piece into Jupiter, and you can see the impacts on that video. Jupiter has between 79 and 84 moons. 1 year is 11.9 of our years, so it's fairly slow, but 1 day is 9 hours and 55 minutes, so it's really spinning pretty fast but going around the sun slowly. Saturn has 82 moons and has 30 rings in 7 groups. 1 year is 29.4 years, so it's pretty slow. Well, again, 1 day is only 10.7 hours, so it whips around pretty quick. Uranus is 1 year is 84 days. 1 day is 17 hours and 14 minutes. Now, the thing about Uranus is it's a very windy planet with wind speeds reaching up to 900 kilometers an hour. And when you look at our strongest hurricanes of about 300 kilometers an hour, that's pretty fast indeed. Uranus has 27 moons and 13 rings. And Neptune is the furthest one out. It has 14 moons, 5 rings. 1 year is very slow. It's 164.8 hour years. 1 day, again, is very fast. It's 16 hours only. Now, Pluto used to be a member of our planets. However, someone decided it's too small and got kicked out. So now we officially have only 8 planets. And now there's different sizes of stars, from the dwarfs to the supergiants. And here's a picture of the size relationship. Now, our sun is characterized as a yellow dwarf, but it is huge in itself. It's the largest object within our solar system, and it comprises 99.8% of the whole solar system's mass. It's 93 million miles from Earth, which places Earth in a perfect, what's called a habitable zone. If the Earth was any closer, it would be too hot and the atmosphere would burn off. If it was too far, everything would freeze. So Mars and Venus are both outside the habitable zone that we have here. Now, one thing about where we are, which is quite interesting, is the fact that we are on the edge of one of the spirals of the Milky Way galaxy, and as such, we have an unobstructed view of the entire universe. We don't have a heavy cloud cover like Venus or the other big planets do, that they can't even see the sun. We can see the entire universe because of our position here. And that's kind of interesting, that we can discover God's greatness here from planet Earth. And now, because we have the moon, we also have tides. The moon's gravity causes these tides, and tides are very beneficial. Low tide provides food for birds, and high tide cleanses and replenishes. And again, we are very uniquely placed where we are. The moon being much smaller than Earth, yet because of the relationship between its distance to the moon, its distance to Earth and the sun's distance to Earth, if the moon comes in between the sun and the Earth, it can cover the sun completely, leaving only a corona, which is another thing that was needed to discover interesting scientific theories and just prove them to be true. So there's total eclipses. That's when the moon completely covers the face of the sun. Then there's partial eclipses, depending where you are on planet Earth at the time. You could see that the moon comes maybe across the half of the sun and then disappears again, so it's not total. Then there's also a third type called annular, and there may well be an annular one coming in June 2021. An annular one is the moon, because it's a bit further than normal from our planet. It does not cover the face of the sun completely, so you're left with a ring around the sun. So the next total eclipse for Canada will be in April 8th, 2024. And that eclipse will be best viewed in eastern Canada. Now, on day 4, God also created the stars. So not only did he create the planets and the sun and the moons that were here, he also created stars. Now, one thing that's always fascinated me about the stars are constellations. Because if you think about it, we revolve around our own axis. As we're doing that, we're spinning around the sun. The sun itself is in a galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, which is also spinning and moving. And yet, constellations, the star shapes do not change except for the orientation. For instance, the Big Dipper can go like this, and be upside down depending on the time of year you're looking at it. So, or even what time of night you're looking at it. And that's the other thing that God said that the stars are for. They're for navigation. So not only do they mark our time and years following around our sun, they also are able to show us the way. So in the Big Dipper now, we have the North Star. And the North Star is found by looking at the edges of the Dipper. There's 2 stars at the end that forms the Dipper. And you take the distance between those two stars and multiply it by 5 and go directly in line of those 2 stars, and you'll get to the North Star. And that North Star is due north. No matter where you are, that's due north. Okay, so now in the northern hemisphere, we have the Big Dipper and the North Star. However, in the southern hemisphere, once you cross the equator, you cannot see the Big Dipper anymore, or the North Star. So therefore, God made sure that people in the south also have a way of knowing which direction to go, and there's the Southern Cross. The Southern Cross is composed of 5 stars forming the shape of a cross. It is the most distinctive feature of the constellation Crux, the smallest constellation in the sky. The Southern Cross is notable for containing 2 bright stars, A Crux and Gat Crux, which point the way to the southern celestial pole. Now, another fascinating thing that Hubble has shown us is the different nebula. And nebula are simply gases. Some are very colorful, and I'll insert my favorite 10. These are from Astronomy Pictures of the Day, which is a NASA website, and I've just chosen 10 of my favorite. other incredible thing about the universe is the balance of forces. It's like fine-tuning a radio station back in the old days when you had to use your dial to get the exact tune of the radio station. So here are the forces that are in perfect balance, exactly where they need to be. If any of them were out, the systems would not work. So we have the carbon energy resonance, Boltzmann's constant, Planck's constants, weak nuclear force, strong nuclear force, gravitational force, speed of light, electromagnetic force, proton mass, electron mass. Now in a book by Ravi Zacharias called The End of Reason, he says this: taking all of the fine-tuned features that must exist in a life-permitting universe into consideration, Donald Page of Princeton's Institute for Advanced Sciences has calculated that the odds of the universe developing by blind, random chance into a form suitable for life as one chance in 10 billion followed by 124 zeros. Obviously, that we cannot even fathom that kind of a number, but that's the odds of having everything in tune. So to say that the Big Bang, which is an explosion, created perfect harmony is not too convincing in my books. Now the question pops up: if we see galaxies millions of light years away, how could the Earth then be so young, of only 6,000 years? Well, light speeds may have been exponentially faster when it was first created. So it's now 186,000 miles per second, and it has been measured to be slowing down. Now, it could have been exponentially faster, and so everything was created there, but now the light is finally reaching us. So in conclusion now, on day 4, the sun, moon, other planets, stars, galaxies, nebulae, all were created on day 4. The sun is needed for heat. It's needed for photosynthesis. It gives the seasons and measures time. The moon is needed to date months, and it causes tides. Tides are beneficial for us, and stars are needed for navigation. And finally, everything must be in perfect tune. So I'll finish with Psalm 8, 3-6. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him, and the son of man that you care for him? Yet you have made him a little lower than the heavenly beings, and crowned him with glory and honor. You have given him dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under his feet. What a great God we have. Now join me for day 5 is the next one, and we'll look at day 5 then. Thanks for watching today.